Hi guys, Aceface back with another video for Twisted Dice. I've got some more fantastic Tyranid content for you today, and we're going to do something hopefully that you guys are going to find interesting. We're going to rank and rate the Tyranid units that we have available. We're going to go through every single unit, including those in the Forge World range. Now, first of all, what I want to say is this video and this idea came from another YouTube channel. Now, this YouTube channel is called Maelstrom Gaming Studios. Maelstrom Gaming Studios. And what I will do is I will put a link to their channel down in the description. Now, currently, as of making this video, they have 11 subscribers. And it would be amazing if we could try and get these guys up to 100 or something like that. It would just be fantastic. They're obviously a new channel, only a couple of videos on there. And they do a very, very detailed tier list for Tyranids in their video. It's like a 2-hour long video, so there's loads of detail in there, loads of reasons for and against for these certain units. So it's a really, really good video, very, very interesting. I listened to it all and thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, a lot of it I don't agree with. It's a little bit off the mark in my opinion, but there's some great opinions in there and there's some great reasoning behind their logic. So definitely go and check them out. Anyone that's putting Tyranid content out is okay in my book. So well done, guys. Keep up the good work and may your channel grow quickly. And yeah, so all good things. So what I'm going to try and do is, obviously, as you guys know that have been following the channel recently, we have some beautiful, amazing content with a polished, fantastic finish coming out of the main studio that Darren is putting his heart and soul into. Over here in the second studio, quote unquote, we have a little bit less technology to play with currently. We are working on that, guys, so it'll be a little bit more stripped back, as you by now I'm sure you're aware. And what you'll see hopefully at the end, or as I go through this video, I'll try and put a graphic so you can see the very typical tier listing kind of graphic that comes up. But if I can't, apologies, you're just going to have to listen and kind of bear with me. But fingers crossed, it will be interesting. As I said, we're going to do a whistle stop tour, so we're going to fly through. I've got my codex, so hopefully I don't miss any units. We're going to smash through this and I'm going to let you know where they sit. We're going to go for S class, then we've got A class, we've got B class, and we've got C class, and that's where we're going to go with. So okay, guys, so let's start off with the Broodlord. Now, the Broodlord is a really good HQ selection. I very much think that he sits at the top of the A tier. He's definitely not an S tier. You know, there are some flaws in him as a unit, but he is an effective unit and one that I definitely would recommend using. So he's going to sit in the A tier, and next to him is the Hive Tyrant. You can take the Hive Tyrant obviously many different ways. He is a very versatile, good unit to use, and again he's going to sit comfortably in A tier. Depending on your build, he can be better or worse than the Broodlord, but still a comfortable A tier choice. Then going on to the Swarmlord. Now the Swarmlord is very particular in the way you use him. He's not going to fit every build, which may in some ways, you know, put him down. But because his Hive Commander ability and how he can make certain builds really go up from being very good to being outstanding, he's going to sit in the S tier. His ability just gives some builds such strong competitiveness. He has to sit in that S tier. And if you want to hear more detail about that, obviously you can check out some of our other videos, and I'm more than happy to talk further about the Swarmlord in the future. Going on to the Tyranid Prime, the cheapest of the HQ slots, he is still a good choice. He's not as good as some of the others, so he is going to sit in the B tier. So he will sit in the B tier. He's still good, and just because he's cheap and cheerful, he is good. Then we'll move on to the Tervagon. Tervagon, unfortunately, at the moment, doesn't have such a strong place as she used to. Everyone knows I love the Tervagon. She's one of my favourites. Big Bertha, I can't wait to get her around the table. But at the moment, she is going to sit in the B tier as well. Moving on to the Neurothrope. The Neurothrope is probably one of our most versatile and useful HQs. You're almost always going to see a Neurothrope just because of the reliable psychic powers and super effective in almost any type of list. So the Neurothrope is going to sit in the S tier. He is almost an auto-include in so many Tyranid lists just because of his points and what he can give you for that. Moving on to Old One Eye. Unfortunately, Old One Eye is okay. He's not amazing. His points mean that you sometimes struggle to fit him in your army, and definitely doesn't have the same kind of versatility and usefulness as the Swarm Lord. So the Old One Eye is going to sit in B tier. So that's the HQs from the normal Tyranid book. Let's jump on and look at the Maelstrom. So the Maelstrom, super good. Obviously, points wise, quite expensive, but that ability to make things -1 to hit is so strong. The Maelstrom is going to sit in the A or S. Difficult. He's really on the edge of S tier, but let's put him on in the A tier. I don't think he's quite S. Let's go on to the troops choices. So let's talk about the Tyranid warriors. Got so many buffs recently. Every Tyranid warrior wants these guys to be in S class. I'm afraid they are still nowhere near S class. They are just sitting into A. Could argue that they maybe even B, but let's stick them in A because everybody loves a Tyranid warrior, but they are right at the bottom end of A, unfortunately. They're still, the reality is, even with all their buffs, they're too easy to kill still, and they're still not that points efficient. They've gone down in points, which makes them good. They are still a great unit. I'm so torn on these guys, but I'm afraid, they will sit in the A tier. Gene Stealers, one of our strongest units in the last edition, unfortunately got hit by being too many points, and the changes to 9th edition really hurt them. People can still use them effectively. They're still a unit that's not bad, but unfortunately they are now going to sit in the B tier. Moving on to Termagants. Termagants, a fantastic unit, really, really good. Again, they are the mainstay of our troops choice. Are they A? Are they B? I'm going to stick them in the A tier. I think they're still very good at their points. They're very effective for what they do. And Hormagaunts will take the same slot as well in the A tier. There's a chance now probably the Hormagaunts are slightly better. But still, I think the Termagants still managed to get into the A. But they're slightly lower in A than the Hormagaunts. Rippers. Again, missions hurt them a little bit. Are they B? They're again down the bottom of A. No, I'm going to put the Rippers in B now, just because the secondaries do really hurt them. I still think there's use for them. I really like Rippers, but I think now they're just kind of falling off a little bit because of their effectiveness for using them for missions. Let's move on to Tyrant Guard. Tyrant Guard, definitely a B. They're okay. You can make them quite tough, quite tanky. They can go onto objectives, but still only B. We'll then go on to Hive Guard. Absolutely exceptional. They are top of S tier for us for their points. They're amazing. We then have the Lictors. Lictors are also definitely S class. You always want to have a Lictor in your list. Super good at taking those secondary objectives. Super cheap and cheerful. Amazing. Definitely S. Unfortunately, next up is the Death Leaper. His rules just don't really work anymore, even with the changes. And there's no point in taking him because the way that he's going to be isolated. So the Lookout Sir rule doesn't really work on him. So unfortunately, he's going to be right down in the C, as unfortunately not very good anymore. Zoanthropes, I'd say just missing out on the S tier. They're going to sit in A. Really good, very tanky, very useful. The Maleceptor, is he B? Is he A? I'm going to put him in A. I think he's very good and has some serious use now. Venomthropes, they're going to sit in B. Don't really like them. Too easy to kill. Not that great anymore. Pyrovores will also sit in B. The good thing is they're no longer C, because actually with their points changes and the smaller boards and the ability to outflank, they can be useful. So they'll now sit in B rather than C, which is great. Horror Specs will go into C. Yes, he can do a lot of damage, but unfortunately, he's just not as good as so many other choices. So he's going to sit in C for me. Gargoyles, they will sit in B. Unfortunately, not as good as Termagants or Hormagaunts, but they still have a use. They can be useful. Raveners, I would so love Raveners to work. I would love to put them in A, but they are going to sit in B. Am I being too kind? Do they need to sit in C? No, I'm going to put them in B. I think they're still a cheap, cheerful little unit. They can still do some work. They can be a versatile unit. Red Terror can sit in the same spot. Again, he's a little character, relatively cheap. Can do some buffing there. I think I'm going to put him just above the C line. He's going to go in B. He's better than the Death Leaper. Or is he better than Death Leaper? No, I'm going to put him in C. I want to put him in B, but he's going to go in C. The Mucilid Spore Mines, they'll go in B. They're okay. Cheap and cheerful, they're okay. Spore Mines, they're A. They're actually really good, particularly when you take them in the Spore Mine formation. They can be very, very effective to use them to block. They're a useful unit and can be used. So, yeah, definitely sit in A for me. Exocrine, the Exocrine's going to sit in S. One of our best units, amazing shooting abilities. You can buff him, you can make him really effective. Probably not quite as good as the Hive Guard, but really good. The Exocrine, definitely an S list listed unit. The Tyrannofex will sit down in the B category. He's almost an A with the acid spray, but probably just sits in B, just underneath, very top end of B. Biovores are slowly working their way up. They're still going to sit in the B tier for now, but they are seeing more play now and definitely have their uses. Toxicrene, unfortunately, is going to sit back down in C. Still no good, unfortunately. His brother, the Maleceptor, is obviously a lot better use if you're going to use that model. But, you know, there are uses for him, but unfortunately, he's going to sit all the way down there in C. Carnifexes, I'm going to lump them all together, but definitely if you use them in kind of my preferred method, which is the Venom Cannons and Devourers, the ability now to shoot into combat with those Devourers, mean that they are top end of B, almost into A. The Morlock will sit in the same spot again, top end of B, not quite into A. The Trigon, same again, probably a little bit under the Morlock, not quite as useful. Points make it a little bit expensive, and Trigon Prime in the same spot, but they'll still all be in B. Tyrannocyte, there's some good uses, but again, will sit in B. The Harpy and the Hive Prone are both going into C currently. I think there are uses for them. There may be better than that. Be interested to hear your comments on it, but for me, they both sit in the C category. And the Sporocyst, will sit in A. It's one of the only ways that we can put something, lump it straight in the middle of the board, and be a nuisance from the off. So the Sporocyst is still very, very good at its points. Definitely worth taking, even though it's a fortification. So the Sporocyst definitely sits in A. Now let's talk about the Forge World units. So let's start off with the Carnifexes, the special Crusher Carnifexes, the Wreckers. They are C. They're not good, really poor, unfortunately, which is a shame, so they'll sit down in C. The Mucilid Spores, unfortunately, now they're down in right down in C. They used to be almost S class, but because of their rules changes now in the latest Forge World book, they're going to sit all the way down in the C bracket. Then we have got the Flying Rippers, the Sky Slasher Rippers. They're quite good. They've got play. They'll sit in B. They're worth a use. They're still the extra speed, gives them options. They're still cheap and cheerful. I like them. So they'll sit in B. Then we have the big boys. So we have the Dimmacharon, Dave, however you want to say it. Very much one of the very strongest units we have at the moment. He is S class and is amazing. The Barb Turagil, again, he's going to sit in S class as well. He's fantastic. the ability to both shoot really hard, be fairly resilient, and to still be good in combat makes him a very, very good choice. I'd say he's bottom of S rather than Demacaron being the top of S, but I'd still put him in the S tier. The Scythe Turaju, unfortunately, he falls down quite a bit, and he's more the bottom end of A class. Still good, still really, really worth using, but nowhere near as good as some of the others. So they're the big boys. Now let's go on to the super, super big boys. So we've got the Harridan and then the Hierophant. So the Harridan, unfortunately, is still not great. He's going to sit down in B and probably the bottom end of B. The Hierophant is really good, but his points still may mean that he's probably not usable. So let's sit him in B. He's definitely not C, but he's going to sit in B. And I think with that, guys, that covers every single unit that's currently available for the Tyranids. If I've missed out something, then please let me know in the comments. As I said, hopefully right now you'll be seeing some sort of picture of all my choices and where they sat. Fingers crossed. If I haven't been able to do that, then apologies. We are working on the technology here. But hopefully that's really useful. And again, if you didn't see the beginning of the video, then make sure you do check out these guys for coming up the initial idea to tier these Tyranid units, and give them some love. Tell them that Ace sent you, and give them a sub. But until next week, that'll be me, Ace Face. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.